What's going on, everyone? You could be looking at the Lakers backcourt for the upcoming 2022-2023 NBA season. Darvin Ham has even relayed to both of these guys, and even Patrick Beverley confirmed that these two guys are very likely going to be starting in the backcourt. Now, obviously, when they acquired Patrick Beverley, the trade kind of seemed like a trade that was going to set up another trade, right? And the Utah Jazz is a team that really seems to be trying to unload Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, Lakers trying to get in on a 3-team deal with the Knicks. There's also talks maybe about the Wizards. I would love to get like a Kyle Kuzma back or even like a Porzingis because they'd have to trade one of those two guys in order to acquire a guy like Donovan Mitchell. So the Lakers could kind of pick up the pieces and be that intermediate team to trade and unload Russell Westbrook, as well as get some solid rotation guys. Lakers desperately need wings. They have plenty of guards, plenty of guys that can, handle the ball, and we don't have those big bodies, those 6'8" wing guys that can guard, the Paul George, Kawhi Leonards, things like that. And this backcourt could be really good, but a lot of concerns. Patrick Beverley, as though he plays big and he is a great defender. He's number 2 behind Giannis as far as like fewest points as the nearest defender. That is huge. That is a great sign. Anthony Davis is number 4 on that list. So we got 2 of the top 4 guys in the league when it comes to defensive, like keeping this guy the closest person to you on a lowing scoring average. But Westbrook, a lot of questions about him defensively, right? And Darvin Ham has said, we really need him to focus his energy on the defensive side. Now, Russ has always been able to get steals and stuff, reading passing lanes, things like that. But defensively, as like an individual defender, has never been great. But with the proper team defense, I do think you can get Russ to be serviceable, especially if Russ can buy in. And that's the big question with Russell Westbrook. And it's looking more and more likely that the Lakers might end up keeping Russ. And it might not be because they want to, but they might not have no choice but to. Now, the Pacers deal, which many of us want, that deal is insane. It makes no sense. The Lakers would be silly to take on that deal. The asking price is just far too high. I have a video diving into that. I'll link all the videos down in the description below. Go check them out after this video. But when it comes to the Pacers deal, too much, too ridiculous. The problem with the Jazz deal is that is only based on, at least right now, Donovan Mitchell getting traded. If Donovan Mitchell doesn't get traded, then does Utah try to keep the best team possible around Donovan Mitchell to try to be as competitive as possible? Or do they blow it up and maybe, I don't think they're going to sit Donovan or anything like that. So the Lakers might not have a choice but to keep Russ or give up or just take a deal that just is silly. And at that point, you might as well keep Russ. Now, they've already said that they're not going to sit Russ this season, that he's going to play. So I imagine that Darvin Ham is going to have to try to make it work. And I really do believe that Darvin can get the most out of Russ. And Russ is going to need to buy in. But we've gotten the right signs from Russ, right? He was at Darvin Ham's presser, things like that. He's shown that he's committed to at least, the vision that Darvin Ham has. I mean, he was sitting right there when Darvin Ham was talking about Russell Westbrook in the conversations they had. And Russ is not a guy to just sit there quietly and let somebody talk about him unless it's true. So everything that Darvin said sounds like the right, direction for Russ. Here's the thing too. Russ at some point needs to change. And this is a contract year for him. That's something you have to keep in mind. Now, he's never a $47 million guy again, but he could get a real contract in the right situation. He's still a really solid player. Just the fit with the Lakers seems to be a problem. He averaged 18, 7, and 7. If Darvin Ham can just get Russ to average that in an efficient, effective manner, the Lakers could be very good because Russ would be your third guy. Russ would be the guy that, like, the whole point that the Lakers went and got Russ for was to allow Russ to be Russ when LeBron was out of the game or he just didn't play at all. But we never really got to see Russ be Russ except for like a couple games, and the dude put up like 30, 14, and 15. Like the game that he was the only player, he literally had a 30-point triple-double and almost single-handedly won that game for them. Like, nobody else showed up. I think the next leading scorer had like 12 points or something like that. So it was literally Russ doing all the dirty work. Like Russ can still be that guy, and in the right situation can be very good and very effective. Can Darvin Ham get that out of him? We've seen guys like AI who AI probably would have had another several years in the NBA, but he refused to change and was out of the league. Melo had to have a big piece of humble pie before he decided to change. So will Russ look at those situations and say, okay, I don't want to be like Melo where, I'm out of the league for, a year or two because teams don't think I can change and I don't want to come off the bench and I don't want to do this, that, and the other. Let me buy in. Let me do what I need to do so I can extend my career. Let me show that I can fit in any situation, that I can adapt, become a chameleon, so to speak. And I hope that Russ does that. He's shown all the right signs. He didn't do that stuff for Vogel. And he's even relayed that Vogel didn't like him. Vogel, we know for a fact that Vogel didn't want Russ on the Lakers. So clearly there was some animosity there with Russ and Frank Vogel. Darvin Ham seems to be a guy that has Russ at least buying in and believing in the vision and the philosophy. The whole idea was to let Russ be Russ. I really believe if you tell Russ, look, you got like 20 minutes a game by yourself. I just need you to go be Russ. Like, that's it. The game plan is you. You get to be Russ. That's what Vogel should have done. You start Russ for, say, 20 games or whatever and just try to see if you can make it work. You got to play Russ, Davis, and LeBron together on, to some degree. They only played 21 games. I know people look at those stats and say, oh, look, even when they did play together, they were terrible. 21 games for a bad fit is not enough sample size to really figure it out. Vogel's lineups were absolutely terrible. This team is a lot more fitting for what they're trying to do. Darvin Ham's also going to run the 4-out, 1-in offense. Also, the pick and roll between Russ and AD and Russ and LeBron had like a ridiculous, like they ran it in the beginning. They ran it like something like 8 times, something like that, and scored like 6 or 7 of the 8 times during that, and then just went away from it for like 6 months. Like, it was insane. It was like you have this play that nobody can stop that's scoring at like an 80% rate, and you just don't do it. Like, I don't see Darvin Ham being that guy. Darvin Ham's going to stick to what works. This is working. Let's keep doing that. And I really think the 4-out, 1-in offense is going to really help Russ be that guy because he's going to be able to get ahead of steam, go downhill. You're going to have the floor spread. He's going to be able to get to the hoop. He needs to finish his layups and he needs to finish his dunks. He was atrocious last year. He was number 1 in the league as far as like missed layups, missed dunks. That can't happen again this year. Turnovers obviously need to be turned down a little bit, but that's kind of always been Russ. High volume, high turnover. Same thing with LeBron, right? LeBron's always done that. But these 3 guys, I think, if they can figure it out, nobody wants to see the Lakers. If LeBron James can be LeBron James, Anthony Davis is MVP level Anthony Davis. Those 2 alone are enough to upset somebody and give you a chance, at least a puncher's chance. Now, if you can get Russ to be effective and be efficient, he's never going to be the most efficient guy in the world. But look, 18-7-7. If you can give me that in a reasonable manner and actually not on like a 42% shooting, but like 47%, something like that, then it'll work. I think you can make it work. And I think Darvin Ham will run Russ as like the 6th man. Like the whole thing we saw last year over and over and over again was we just want Russ to be Russ. We just want Russ to be Russ. But you never allowed him to do that. Frank Vogel constantly had Russ with THT or Rondo or LeBron. Or it's like, that's not why you got Russ. You got Russ to allow Russ to be Russ. And the only reason I'm talking about this and making this video is because, it looks like we're probably stuck with Russ for another year, which I don't think is the end of the world. I don't think that that's that big of a deal. I know other people feel otherwise, but I don't. I think Russ, if he can just be that like 6th man, you got to start him for his ego. But if you operate him, like I said, you have the first like 5-6 minutes, you have these 3 on the court, then you pull AD, you pull LeBron, you put the other guys in, and you just let Russ, you just say, Russ, you have 5 minutes to do, just be you. Russ, I think, will go out there. He'll get you, 10 points in that 5-minute period. You sit him, start the second quarter with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Boom, you got that. Okay, they're out. Russ, your time again. Let's go. Boom. He'd probably get you another, 10 points. Like, I think you could easily get Russ to get you 18 to 20 points a game in a more efficient manner if you just allow Russ the freedom to be Russ. Let him figure it out. Let him work it out. Put the spacers around him, let him do his thing. Same thing with LeBron. And you just kind of, scatter LeBron and Westbrook's minutes. You can run some time with Davis and Westbrook. That could work, especially if Davis can get back to shooting properly. You can make it work with these three. I mean, people said the same stuff about Dwayne Wade, and they were able to make it work. And obviously Dwayne Wade offered you a lot more and different things, but it was very similar. Like, when LeBron went to Miami, the big concern was, can Dwayne Wade and LeBron James make it work? Can they figure it out? And it even took them a year to really figure it out. Yes, they went to the finals, but that team was ridiculous and stacked. And it was just a different time, different league. It was in the Eastern Conference, and the Eastern Conference only had like 2 teams that were pretty good. It was a different time. You're in the Western Conference that is stacked, that has, all these teams. Even like the 12th seed team could probably make the playoffs in the East. Like, it's a different beast here. But I really do think that these guys, if they figure it out, could be scary. Now, are they a contender? I don't know. I think it depends on how efficient and effective they are and everyone else is. But I do think I think we're going to have that standout guy again. I think Kendrick Nunn is being extremely slept on. We got size again, which is huge. One of the biggest problems we had last year was when when Anthony Davis went down. That was it. We had no other bigs. We had Dwight Howard, and that was basically it. I mean, we were running LeBron at center and Stanley Johnson at center because we had no size. Well, we have size now. We're lacking it on the wing side, the perimeter side, but we got enough guys that are, 6'6", but they have some length. They have 6'10", 6'11", wingspan, stuff like that. So we do have some size. A lot of these guys are, average NBA three-point shooters, but playing next to a guy like Westbrook and LeBron and Davis, most of these guys have never done that. So they're going to get more open looks and more shots that unlike anything they have before. So I do imagine some of these guys' three-point percentage will go up. I don't think we're going to be a great team, but if we could at least be league average from 3, and we could at least be, a top 10 defense, these 3 figure it out and these 3 work it out, I think we're in the conversation. But anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions. And as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. What do you think if the Lakers end up keeping Russ? I'm not saying it's going to happen for sure. Obviously, if the Jazz work out a trade, boom, we're good. We're the 3rd team in there, and we're going to, be able to pick off some of those pieces. But there's no guarantee that the Jazz are going to work out that deal. And I do not want them to do the Pacers deal with the asking price right now. You're not giving up both first picks and taking a bad 3-year contract for 2 role guys, a guy that averages, 12 points and 7 rebounds a game, and another guy that averages 15 and does nothing but shooting. Nah, keep your role players. Lose Miles Turner for nothing. Go ahead. Enjoy that and enjoy paying Buddy Hield for the next, 2 years, $40 million. Okay. There you go. We'll keep our picks and we'll wait. And one last little thing I want to say is that, I know some people are saying, at the trade deadline, what about at the trade deadline? What if we trade Russ at the trade deadline? Here's the thing. At that point, it's either going to be one of 2 things. Either the Lakers are going to be good, and then it's do you really want to break that up? Russ is working, everything is working, you're firing all cylinders. Let's say you're a top 4 or 5 seed, and it's okay, things are going good. Once we just need to get into the playoffs. We get into the playoffs, we're looking good, this team's looking good, this roster's looking good, and they're a legit team. Then you're not going to trade and break that up. You might as well ride it out for the rest of the season and then get into the offseason, Russ's money falls off. Or the alternative is you're terrible and it's what trade is going to save you? At that point, you might as well just ride the rest of the season and then just let Russ's money fall off and then go get free agents and free agency. But anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions, and I'd love to hear yours down in the comments. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.